Welcome all to our polio talks. And first of all, welcome to our Rotary International President, Stephanie, and to our Director, Daniel, and Director-elect, past directors, coordinators, past coordinators, and governors, past district governors, governors nominees and elects, and all Rotarians. And that's the most important for such events, that we are here as Rotarians to understand and to try to help. And at the very beginning, before we start, I will share with you one illustration. This is something that I received from our Rotarians from Romania, from Timisoara. This is a painting of high school kids when they are thinking about polio. And this is not just a painting, this is also something that is encouraging for all of us. When the kids is thinking like this, it's also very important to continue our fight. In last few months, we had the opportunity to discuss with different senior leaders of Rotary International and our zone about the importance of polio, fighting the polio, and about the results, and about the difficulties and challenges. And thank you, Madam President, that you are joining us at this middle of your year, joining us. And this is the best momentum for you to encourage us more, and to continue our fight, and to continue our walk to the end of our goal. I will not introduce you with official biography, because I'm sure that all the present persons are very well informed. And once again, thank you for your enthusiasm, thank you for your energy, and thank you for everything that you are doing for Rotary and for all of us. And Madam President, floor is yours.
Well, before we begin, okay, it seems to go away. I heard some background noise, but I think it is gone. So I will take the floor. So thank you for inviting me to participate today. You all know that polio eradication is our #1 external priority. Our internal priority, of course, is growing membership, but we will continue our fight for polio eradication. I do want to address a couple of the challenges. I know that you are aware that we have challenges. We've made some progress during the past year, but we've also faced some challenges. Let me start first with the progress. You know, in our fight against polio, there are 2 types of polio that we are attempting to eliminate. One is the wild polio virus, and that is the virus that is currently endemic in the regions in Afghanistan and Pakistan that are near the border. The other is called the polio variant. In some cases, people who receive the polio vaccine, children who receive the polio vaccine, can contract polio actually from the vaccine. It is a challenge, and has been a challenge for us to work to eliminate that situation, and we have made progress. Since March of 2021, there's been enough science that the variant polio type 2 cases have diminished. I don't have all the figures, but I know for a sample, the Republic of Congo, it's where that's been an issue. In 2022, there were 372 cases of this variant polio contracted. And as of October the 8th this year, there are only 12. So we have dramatically reduced the number of those cases, which is significant because in the fight against polio, we really have to achieve both goals. Our partners in the Global Polio Eradication Initiative have a strategy that addresses both of them. So the strategy is currently in place through 2029. So it has two goals. The first one is to interrupt the transmission of the wild polio by the end of 2025, so the end of next year. And then we can certify its eradication by the end of 2027. The second goal is to interrupt the transmission of this variant polio by the end of 2026, and then we can certify its elimination by the end of 2029. So we have made some great progress toward that second goal. As you know, unfortunately, the numbers of the wild polio virus have continued to increase in Afghanistan and Pakistan primarily. The issues that we face in Afghanistan, we know that there have been some policy decisions by government that have changed the campaign from house to house to mosque, which means that we have to optimize the modality for how we implement getting to reach the children. The more serious problem is in Pakistan, where we have two things going on. There is an unprecedented population movement because Afghan refugees are being repatriated to their own country, which means children are on the move. So when children are on the move, it's harder for vaccination to happen because we don't know where they are. They're moving. The other thing that's happening, and in some of the small villages, there aren't a lot of social services and other kind of services available to people. So some of the families are resisting vaccination as a way to leverage getting more service. So our polio program with our GPEI partners are aware of these issues, and they're working to map where the population is moving, as well as looking at how other services can be provided in these communities to satisfy the needs of the people who are resisting vaccination. The IPPC, our Polio Plus committee, is on top of all of this. They have called some strategic planning meetings to take a look at, is it time for us to rethink the way we're reaching out, the way we're dealing with polio? So our current chair is, as you know, Mike McGovern. So he has called some meetings, which will include myself, as well as our chair of the Rotary Foundation and partners from our Global Polio Eradication Initiative. So we're on top of it, we're looking at it. So I don't want anybody to think that we're just sitting by and letting all these numbers go out of control. No, it is a concern to us, and we're working diligently with countries, with our End Polio Now coordinators, with senior leaders in Rotary, and our partners to look at ways that we may have to adapt and change to make sure that we can stay ahead of what's happening. There also was a recent case. I frequently talk about the case that happened in New York City about 3 years ago, when a man visited another country in Europe, and then he brought polio back. And we ended up with polio in New York City in the water system, and it also ended up in London and some other places. And what we do as a group of committed individuals in GPEI is to take efforts to go into and do what we call mop-up campaigns. That means we go in and immunize a significant number of people, children and people, to make sure that the herd immunity rises. When that happens, then it's less likely that the wild polio virus can move around. In fact, it stops it completely. So that recently happened somewhere else, and I think it was in Malawi, that there was an imported virus case that came from Pakistan. And in May, this happened in May of this year, 2024. And we did the same thing. We went in to do this mop-up campaign so that we stopped the polio virus. So GPEI is on top of things. We recognize challenges. We keep moving, and we have successes in the variant. And it's a promise that we made to children of the world, and we're not going to stop until it is done. So let me stop talking. I am a previous governor, so I can talk all afternoon, but I won't do that, and see if you have any questions that you want to ask of me.
I will start with the first question. It's a very specific situation in the United States, and it is in the context of politics, of course, but we need to find a way how to deal with the new future elected persons in charge in the health that are ignorant about polio and polio vaccination. So maybe it's a hot issue to discuss, but I'm asking that question.
Yes. I think it's well known that RFK Kennedy made public statements in the past that he is anti-vaccine. But just this morning on CNN, I heard news clips from both he as well as President-elect Donald Trump saying that they were all for the polio vaccine. So time will tell to see if they've, changed their tune, but they're saying it publicly. The good news, if there is good news in this scenario, is that by bringing it to the attention of the media, polio is once again on the front burner for people in the United States, because the disease has been gone here since 1979. So in talking to people in the United States about polio, generally they say, "What? What are you talking about?" They haven't seen it. Especially young people. People my age have, but young people, they haven't seen it. But now it's everywhere. It's in the news. It's on television. It's on the devices. It's everywhere. So it's getting attention, albeit negative attention originally. But as of this morning, they both have turned that around, and they're both saying that the polio vaccine is incredibly important. One of the things that I heard in an interview was a woman in the U.S. who is clearly anti-vaccine, and she was saying, "Oh, we don't need polio vaccine. All we need is to have our children be fed and have the right nutrients." Baloney! I mean, there are 20 million children and people around the world who don't have polio, and it wasn't because they've been well fed. It's because of the polio vaccine. So I think there's still a lot of education that we have to do, not just in this country, in my country, but in places around the world for those people who don't understand how significant, not significant, that's the wrong word, how insidious this virus really can be.
Thank you. I'm opening floor for other questions. I have a few more, but
while we wait for questions, let me tell you about my trip in January. I went to Pakistan, and I specifically went to meet with female frontline workers. These are the women who climb those mountains and dangerous, and they're being shot at, and they were going house to house to do the immunization. And they were so appreciative, because really why I went was to tell them that we have their backs, that we appreciate that they're doing the work of getting the vaccine to children. And they were happy. We had a ceremony for them. We gave them certificates and plaques. And they said through translators that knowing that the rest of the Rotary world is behind their actions gives them the strength to continue. But I also met with male frontline workers, and I really didn't know that this existed. In Pakistan, apparently, there are transit stops on the highway, And so any vehicle that has more than 6 people, buses, vans, trucks, have to stop. And the police go in to check for contraband, illegal things, people, guns, or whatever, drugs. And while the vehicle is stopped, male workers take the carriers up into the bus and they actually immunize babies on the bus. So I got to go in with them and I got to immunize babies that were on the bus. And I'll never forget there was a man, not a woman, a father holding a little baby. And I went back and I put the drops and just the look in his eyes. He doesn't speak English. I don't speak Urdu or any of the Pakistani languages, but just the look in his eyes, he was saying, thank you to us because of what we do. It was so incredible. So when I came off the bus, I was intrigued by that whole thing. And, because transit stops all over the country, I said to one of the Rotarians, how do you keep track of this? And how many do you do every day? And he said, we do it by hand. It's a manual process, but we know that we are doing 3,000 every day. Can you imagine that? 3,000 babies in buses every day. So I walk away from that experience in Pakistan, and I know it's not if polio is going to be eradicated. It's when. There is too much dedication. There are too many people who are doing the job, and we are supporting them. We are fundraising, and we are advocating, and we are educating. And so together, we are going to see a polio-free world, and we're going to be a part of history, all of us.
And when you are already mentioning Pakistan, it's very often we are not thinking about volunteers that are working in very unsafe conditions, and I think it's important to underline the role of volunteers and that aspect of eradication of polio.
You're absolutely correct. They are doing that dangerous work. I don't have the statistic in front of me, but several years ago, because the vaccinators were actually being killed, the Global Polio Eradication Initiative put together a fund to hire armed guards to go with these women. And some of them have also been executed in the line of doing the work of polio eradication. So it is dangerous. It's dangerous. It's difficult, but they are determined to keep at it until we can certify that the world is polio free.
If I can ask Terry now to update us with the newest numbers with polio.
Well, I wasn't prepared to do that, but I know that we have about 60 cases in Pakistan and a few cases in Afghanistan, and then the cases, the variant cases, as Stephanie mentioned, are about 2/3 of what they were last year. So they're down significantly, at least partly because of the new novel polio oral vaccine, which is apparently helping a lot in those countries. So overall, the total number of cases, wild cases plus variant cases, has actually decreased each of the last several years, and so we're looking for that to continue to go down. But as we all know, it's not a it's Dr. Tedros on a call here just a day or two ago said it's not a linear thing. It's not that we go from 250 down to 100 down to 50. If you looked at the history of India, they had 700 cases. I think that was 2010, and then 40 the next, and then 1 the next, and then it was gone. And they haven't had a case in over 10 years now. So those things can happen when it looks like it's that we're at a tough position to get rid of the final cases. It can all of a sudden stop, and that's what we're hoping for. So,
thank you, Terry. Thank you, Stephanie. Any comment?
No, I think Terry's right. The numbers overall, if you just look at the wild polio virus, they look higher. But when you look at the overall picture, the progress that we've made in getting that variant is making the overall number come down. So we just have to plug away and keep working at it. Looks like a couple more hands have gone up.
Yes, Sentach, then Florentina.
Hi, dear President. Warm greetings from Cyprus. A couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
One of them is, what is the World Health Organization's position with polio virus? And secondly, what are the preventative measures that we can take at our countries, maybe at the entry ports, apart from doing the awareness of end polio within amongst ourselves? Thank you.
Well, I can't answer specifically anything about the World Health Organization. That would be a question for them, but they remain a strong partner in our global polio eradication initiative. Originally when Rotary began working on the eradication of polio in the mid-1980s, we had several partners, a small handful. We now have over a dozen. And it's because of the impact that we've made during these past years. 99.9% of polio cases have gone away because of the work that we do. So we've caught the attention. When I talk about our action plan and I talk about that first priority, increasing our impact, this is it. This is the best program in Rotary to show the importance of measuring impact. We're able to say that 20 million people today are walking instead of crawling because of our efforts in polio. We're able to say that every year we save $85 billion in ancillary healthcare costs because people don't have polio or post-polio syndrome. So that's the kind of impact statement that catches the attention of partners. And so that's why we now have so many, including the World Health Organization. And the second part of your question about what else should we be doing, what was it in our countries, or?
As a preventative measure, maybe at the entry ports, are there some fast, simple screening exercises that they may put in place, or?
I really don't know the answer to that. That's actually a scientific question. That would be really for somebody in the GPEI who's working more on what we're doing. So I don't know the answer to that one. I'll have to defer that to somebody else.
Thank you.
Florentina.
Hi to all. Greetings from Pristina. It was very glad and my pleasure to hear about your insights until now. But I would like to know, for example, having a very long period of working on polio, what could be some of the lessons learned that Rotary has learned through the polio efforts that can apply to other global health initiatives, particularly if there are diseases that affect mainly children? So which could be like one or two lessons learned that we could still apply to other health initiatives?
Well, I think we had those lessons when we experienced the COVID outbreak, because one of our strongest assets in the whole polio eradication program is our ability to mobilize our members. Our social mobilization is outstanding. And so the World Health Organization and the CDC reached out to Rotary during the pandemic to say, we need some help in getting information to people and delivering supplies and doing things. So Rotary was at the forefront in terms of getting information out. We also did that with the Ebola outbreak in the continent of Africa, when we needed to get information to places in Africa. It was Rotary that the World Health Organization turned to and said, can we help get Rotarians to do this? So I think that's probably the biggest lesson for us, is that our strong point our strength is our people. Our social mobilization is going to be there for whatever happens to us. I heard somebody say yesterday, will there be another pandemic? And he said, of course there will be. So I think Rotary is positioned to be there, you know, to be at the front end to deliver the help that we need.
Director-elect Emmanuel.
Thank you. Thank you. Once again, warm greetings from Uganda, and thank you so very much, President Stephanie.
Of course.
I have two quick questions. The first one is the situation in Syria. Whereas we are all celebrating about what is taking place in Syria, it poses a very serious situation because it is very fluid. We do not know where the country is going, and yet it's got a lot of influence on its neighbors, Turkey, Israel, and other countries. In situations like we have in Syria, situations we have in Gaza, situations we have in Ukraine, do we have, as Rotary, do we have an emergency response to make sure that we concentrate on prevention other than cure? Is that something you could comment on?
Yes.
The second question, President Stephanie, is Rotary public image coordinators play a very important role in disseminating information. Do we have a situation where our public image coordinators and polio coordinators frequently meet? If not, can we make them meet so that they really coordinate the same message, not only to Rotary, but to the world over? Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Emmanuel. Let me tackle your first question. You know, Rotary's strength is in our people, and our people are where they need to be when situations happen. So when things happened in Ukraine, it was the Ukrainian Rotarians and those Rotarians in the countries surrounding Ukraine who went in and immediately provided relief and provided the things that were necessary for refugees and displaced people. When outbreaks happened in Gaza, there was a Gaza relief fund that was developed by the Rotarians there. There was also a relief fund developed in Israel by the local Israeli Rotarians. So when something happens, it's the Rotarians who are on the ground, because we all have that DNA. We want to help. We want to provide humanitarian service. So we are the ones who provide what we can where those situations occur. The other good thing about Rotary is that we don't go away after a disaster ends. We're there to help rebuild. We did that after World War I, we did that after World War II, and we certainly will be there for other situations as we can. Your second question, I think, is really a question for Terry. Terry, do you all meet on a regular basis?
Well, we meet with our director, and so Salvador is our director and from Mexico, and we meet as a group with all the coordinators, I guess on a quarterly basis. And then we have other meetings with the district governors and governors-elect and different groups. But yes, we do meet from time to time. It would have all of the coordinators. It would have the Rotary coordinator, public image, and polio. So yeah, we do meet on a regular basis.
Okay, excellent. Other questions?
Yeah, there are two questions in chat, and I will ask Beatrix and Mel to ask it audio.
Yeah, hi, this is Mel from Canada.
Hi, Mel.
And Hi. Actually, my question was on Gaza, but that was you've talked about that from Emmanuel's question, so that's why I took my hand down too.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, I'll just add that Rotary's contribution there was a financial one. We provided $500,000 to the World Health Organization so that they could buy the vaccines. I understand that there have been 2 polio campaigns. One happened from September 1st to the 12th, and then a second one began on the 14th of October. And that's when, vaccinators went in and did a huge campaign to reach as many children as possible.
Beatrix.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody from Budapest. Sorry for my English. I speak better German as English. I try to explain in my chat that I heard from a German district of partner group from Berlin Gendarmenmarkt that in wastewater system they found this year polio virus. My question is how it could be possible to in contact to come or something. The Rotary International has a plan for it that in the several countries, the wastewater system organization, how is to contact to became because they only tested maybe only COVID, influenza, and not for polio. And the other problem is the immigration people that some people don't know if they have the polio vaccine or not, or they have not this paper for it, for example, and this is also a problem for everywhere. In Hungary, the most of the Hungarian Rotary are the opinion, okay, we have a long time no polio, and some of the clubs are donates because they found it important. And from last year, we have polio beauftragte, also for polio, somebody in the district. And we found it this is very important that a more sensibilization to make our member. Sorry for my English.
Well, your English is better than my Hungarian or my German, so don't apologize. When those kinds of things happen, when polio virus is found in wastewater or other places, it is the Global Polio Eradication Initiative. Now, that initiative is made up of the partners that Rotary works with. So Rotary is part of that. World Health Organization is part of that. The Gavi Vaccine Alliance is part of that. And the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control. So they work together as part of this initiative to do exactly what I mentioned earlier. They isolate where that may have happened, and they go in and do these mop-up campaigns, they're called, to make sure that they spread enough vaccine in that area to bring the herd immunity level up high enough so that it eliminates the possibility of the virus moving beyond the infected person. So that's how it's handled. That's my understanding. That's how it's handled through the GPEI. So it's not Rotary itself, not the organization ourselves that would go in. It would be that initiative group that takes a look at what needs to be done, and then they handle doing that to make sure it's taken care of.
Thank you. If it's possible, I would like to hear something from Saeed, EPNC from Pakistan, if he is with us.
Thank you very much, Nicola. Actually, I have a problem over here, internet issue. That's why I have not opened the video. So please, right now we are having the polio NIDs, which is started on 16th of December to 22nd of December. So we are all working over here in the polio immunization days in different districts in the Pakistan, and especially our government commitment is very high right now. The inauguration of polio NIDs is done by our Prime Minister, and he's working, and he instructed all the health department and other people to work hard to go door to door to give polio drops to each and every child under age of 5. So Rotary clubs in Pakistan are also working very hard, and they are involved in polio campaigns. And hopefully, thank you very much for all of you who are supporting our efforts in through their polio funds and financial to the government and the WHO for eradicating this disease from Pakistan. We are having challenges, basically what Stephanie has President discussed, that we have many areas where security compromised areas, where the workers cannot go for the vaccine. There are some pockets. So these strategies are made by the WHO, and they are working on it. And hopefully we will catch up everyone. And thank you very much for inviting.
Saeed, you bring up a good point, and that is, when I went on my very first national immunization day, I went to India. And when I got there, they said, we're going to immunize 125 million children today. And I said, what? How are you get 125 million? How does that happen? Well, it happens because exactly what you said. Nobody stays home. Every Rotarian is out. Every health worker is out. Every government person is out. And they are helping to get the children and the families to the immunization spots. So by the end of that day, we did. There were 125 million children immunized. But it's because of that persistence, Saeed, like you mentioned, everybody goes out. Nobody is at home. So that's a great point. Thank you for reminding me.
Thank you, President.
Thank you, Said, and thank you, Madam President. This aspect of Rotary helping as a volunteering organization is also crucial for the whole process in the last 35 years. So I think it's very important to underline the role of volunteers and the numbers of people dropping the drops. So that's also very important. Christian?
Hello, President Stephanie. Hello, everybody.
Hello, Christian.
It's really very nice to see all of you, and this very important topic. And I would like to ask a general question regarding the situation that the world is going through this year with 50% of elections. And this was a signal in United States regarding the vaccination, and one of the main issue and driving force of the right extreme that is right now increasingly in Romania, and best wishes to everybody from Russia, from Romania. And one of the driving force in United States, in Germany, Romania, and in the right extreme is to put in doubt the vaccination. And unfortunately, in US, the polio vaccination was the first one which was in highlight. And among different aspects of this right extreme, one of the really very important is once again to adopt and to put under question the vaccination. I'm wondering to ask you if Rotary in this context is having a strategic plan regarding the increasing the awareness more and in liaison with the public health authorities in terms of not just increasing the fight systematically against this depth of the vaccination, and the barriers that are highlighted with these new political situations, because I think this is really a crucial time nowadays, not just from politics and economical point of view, because of the depth of the public system regarding the vaccination in general. And we could see in the United States, once again, that polio. Thank you very much.
We addressed this a bit earlier, Christian. I'm not sure if you were on the call, but in terms of the political landscape, if you will, I had a conversation with Mike McGovern, who is our chair of our IPPC, because for me it's also an issue. And he said, you know, one of the positives that has come out from all of this nonsense, if you will, is that polio is on the front burner again, that people are paying attention to polio. And originally, I can't speak for all the countries, but in the United States, both the president-elect and his nomination for chief health official, RFK, made statements in the past that they were not particularly in favor of vaccinations because they cause autism and all sorts of other things. But the truth of the matter is, this morning, when I was listening to CNN, they both said just the opposite, that they were in favor of the polio vaccine. They didn't say all vaccines, they said the polio vaccine. And, you know, it's true. We have 20 million people walking today instead of being disabled or crippled or even dying from contracting polio. And it's not because, you know, that they took care of their health or they did other things. It's because they got the vaccine. They were able to fight off this virus because they had those antibodies in their system. So I think, despite the fact that there are many people in my country who are anti-vaccine folks, I think the message that's coming from the top officials in the government is that the polio vaccine is effective and that they stand behind it. That's what I heard this morning. Can't speak for the other countries, but here they're standing behind the polio vaccine.
That is a good message in these difficult political circumstances all around the world. Terry.
I just wanted to mention, Stephanie several times talked about our partnership with the UNICEF and CDC and WHO and Gates Foundation and Gavi. We had, at our own institute, we had a panel discussion with members of the Gates Foundation and CDC and UNICEF. And one of the things that they mentioned is that those organizations all kind of like to do their own thing, right? And they have their own areas that they do, and Rotary has its area that it does. But they said Rotary is really the organization that keeps us all moving in the same direction. Each one of them mentioned the fact that Rotary was really the leader in this whole program, and that we were the ones that kept this whole program going forward. And I thought that was really interesting. And then, speaking of partnerships, I'm actually meeting this afternoon with our immunization partnership, which is an organization here in the United States, at least, which promotes vaccination among healthcare workers, hospitals, and the public. And they actually sought me out as wanting to talk about how Rotary could be involved with them, because it's so important right now in the United States. This is going to confuse people, all this talk about going back and looking to see whether or not vaccines are safe and that kind of talk. And so they're really looking for help from Rotary and all the contacts that we have about how they can do a better job of that. So
that's great.
Well, thank you, Terry. If we don't have any additional question, I will ask the question that I'm asking all participants in Polio Talks. How to encourage people in the regions and countries without polio for decades to be present in polio events, fundraising events, and to feel the polio eradication as its own project too.
I think one of the things that we can do is remind people about it's not just polio that we're helping people not to contract. We're also helping people not to live a life that ends up with post-polio syndrome. You know, years ago, we had a newscaster here in the States in my city, in Pittsburgh, and he worked for our affiliate, that CBS Broadcasting. And he came to speak to Rotary 3 different times. And the first time he came to our district conference, he walked up the steps and he talked about the fact that he had polio as a child, and he talked about the difficulties that created. And second time he spoke, he needed help getting up the steps because he couldn't walk. And he said, I'm beginning to develop post-polio syndrome. The third time he came, they had to bring the microphone down to the floor because he couldn't make the steps at all. He said, I know what my future holds. I'll be in a wheelchair before long. So that's also what we want to remind people, that it's not just simply, you know, the disease itself. And there are people who get it and, you know, they end up having not just a childhood that is full of trauma, they also become traumatized as adults because of the health issues. So, you know, I think that's one way. Another way is simply to tell stories about those people that we have encountered, or those people who have been somewhere. Like I tell the story about going to Pakistan frequently because I think there's a message there that, you know, that we need to share widely. Terry, I know you probably have tons of stories that you share when you're making the rounds about polio. So all of us need to look at what are those impactful stories that we can share with people. Because as you mentioned, Nicola, people haven't seen it. It's been gone from our developed countries. And so, you know, we don't see it. You know, Saeed sees it every day because it's still there in Pakistan, but we don't. So we have to rely on ways that we can help people visualize what it is we're really trying to eliminate.
Thank you, Madam President. And the last question, going to my colleague, EPNC Ingrid.
Well, it's actually not a question. Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie, for all you have said to us. I feel there is a big fatigue in quite a lot of areas, especially the ones who hasn't seen the polio for a while. And I believe in bringing facts. So I'm very well helped by Terry, for example, bringing out facts every week. And also we have a lot of other places where we can get facts. And I kind of compromise and send out to all the districts in my zone to give the district governor arguments for how we actually are doing well, moving forward. There is hope. And I don't know what it's like in your countries, but in my country, it's very often very good to have hard facts. I can tell you this number, this country, this place, these people. And when we give them the arguments, I think it's easier for them to go out to the clubs and also to the local community that they live in and say, this is actually something that we have to deal with because it's only a flight away. I mean, every child is at risk, as we say, as long as there is polio virus.
Right. And, you know, I use that phrase a lot, Ingrid. I remind people, I say, you know, what we always threaten can happen, did happen when that man from New York took a flight to Europe and then came back. That's exactly what happened. And so when I put it that way, people say, oh, yeah, okay, that it could happen. And it does happen. So that's why we have to keep on this fight.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you all. Thank you for having communication from Europe, America, Asia, Africa. So we had comments from 4 continents, and It's showing us that we are joined in one gathered fight against polio. And thank you, Madam President, for giving us the opportunity to discuss and with you and to hear some news from your side. And thank you very much for your enthusiasm, encouragement, and the leadership. I wish you a lot of energy in the next in following 6 months for everything that you need to do. And because we are in a holiday season, perhaps there is some message from your side, Madam President, for all Rotarians in this holiday spirit, to end it in that way.
Well, just that I hope everyone has a joyous holiday and that we enter 2025 with health and with happiness and with peace, and that we move forward and continue our efforts to have a polio-free world.
Thank you very much, and a big applause for you from all of us.
For all of us. We're in this together.
Yes.
Yay.
Thank
Thank you, President.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you to all directors, to all governors, nominees, past. Thank you to Rotary coordinators, past presidents, and all Rotarians from very different number of zones from the worldwide. So thank you very much, and happy holidays, and I wish you all a good entrance into the new year.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.